You're listening to Small Business Talk with Jerry. Sit in on great conversations with entrepreneurs who risk everything chasing the American dream.
Hello, everybody. Small Business Talk with Jerry. I have no idea what the date is that this is getting released, so we're not even going to try that. It's day before Halloween here when we're recording anyway. And I'd like to introduce Dan. He is he is with us tonight. I'll let Dan kind of introduce himself, but he's going to be helping us out. You guys have met Craig. You've met Keenan. We're kind of making our way through our crew here, but I want to give Daniel some time tonight. So, Daniel, take it away.
Sure. What do you want to know other than my name, Daniel?
Well, yeah. I mean, why are you interested in this? You have your own business.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm the owner-operator at the Tint Detail Clinic. It's something that I started from home, and it just kind of something that fell into my lap, I guess.
How long have you been doing it?
Since 2019.
Oh, okay. Survived COVID.
Yeah.
So
just before COVID.
Yeah.
I had every intention of getting it into a shop. Pretty much right away after starting it, but then COVID happened and kept it from home, and that's where it's been up until now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And now you are making a move. Well, of course, it'll been a couple months ago by the time this comes out, but
yeah. Tomorrow, officially November 1st, will be my first day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's still right here in Stewartville, or just outside of town.
Just outside of town. If you know where Brock White is and Expert Installation, I'm right next door to them.
Right by the Rochester International Airport.
Yep.
Perfect. Because I'm assuming we're going to get some listeners that aren't local.
Right.
So we'll kind of keep that in mind as we're giving landmarks.
Oh, sure. It's true.
But no, that's been going good for you. I mean, you've got a history of working with people. I mean, customer service.
Yeah.
That's kind of your thing. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Been doing it for a long time. When did we meet? It was a while ago.
It was a while ago. It was back when I started with AutoZone.
AutoZone, yeah. Auto parts,
yeah.
Doing the commercial stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And for a rude awakening there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then kind of moved to the other side of the fence, the other side of the counter, I should say.
I did.
Other side of the telephone.
Yeah.
So you started buying from the wholesalers rather than selling to the retailers.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So, what made you interested in this, in the podcast side of it?
Well, it's something that makes me uncomfortable. So, seriously, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I've been, pushing myself to do ever since I left the corporate world.
Yeah.
Just getting into things that make me uncomfortable, volunteering more, going on runs, doing the marathon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did the shirt for the marathon with Design HQ. Yep.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. Are you going to do more of those?
Marathons, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know about a full marathon, but half marathons, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll watch. It's.
And I just want to let you know I can't hear anything out of my this side here.
All right. We had technical difficulties, and I am not a technician, but somehow we figured it out. It was just something unplugged. So as long as it doesn't get any more complicated than that, I'm your guy.
Perfect. We'll figure it out together.
We'll figure it out. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So besides being uncomfortable, you like the idea of talking about small business and trying to support each other. I mean, for lack of a better term, you just want to help out the community. I mean, take care of some of these small businesses, and I really don't think, until you're in small business, I don't think people really understand just how much of America small businesses support.
And just how much of a community effort it is to, not only support local business, but those local businesses help the community as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. It takes a village. I mean, it really does. The old saying, but it really does. And that, I know, we just, you probably deal with this. This is a in topic, but a little bit of a tangent. We always have the folks having a fundraiser. They're doing a fundraiser because someone's ill. Someone had a catastrophic issue in the family, something like that. And so
it doesn't have to be that dark. We can also do like skate park fundraiser.
We can do skate park funders, right? Yeah, there's
or a half marathon.
Or a half marathon, right? You're right. I kind of went to a dark place there and stayed there for a minute, but I have a gal that comes in.
Sure.
And you're always looking for a silent auction item, whatever, and now of course with multiple businesses, it's like I'm a one-stop shop. It's like, oh, hey, we could get something from your gun store. We could get something from the auto shop. Can we get like some shirts from Design HQ? And now, we added the garage door company, and it's like, so I haven't gotten hit up on that yet. That's too new. It's only been a few weeks, so far. But, I need to take a quick pause. We did not start my timer. We need to do that. There we go. Okay, so this has been a shit show already. I'm just not. I was having technical difficulties with the laptop before we got started, and then Daniel's headphone, and well, now we're 10 seconds into our 8th minute on the on the podcast.
I'm taking mental notes so that when I'm here, I'll help.
Perfect.
You check.
Well, this is the most trouble I've had so far. Honestly, this was.
You're welcome.
Yeah, right. Talk about being uncomfortable.
Right. I'm kidding.
But back to like the fundraisers, I have never met anyone who is constantly involved in these fundraisers. And I mean, it's like once every 3 or 4 weeks. And the first couple times it was great, but then it's a constant, well, I need this, and it just becomes expected after you do it a few times. And it's very uncomfortable. This is what maybe when you said being uncomfortable,
sure.
It made me really uncomfortable. The other day, I finally just said, I think I'm out for a while. Mm-hmm. It's you're gonna have to work for this again. I guess you're expecting like 2 or 3 or 4 different packages, one from each business, and then the part that's really frustrating for me is when the folks that are coming in getting the donations. I mean, like 70% of the time, they're coming back with the gift certificates or with the,
No kidding.
Yeah. Wow. And it's like, okay, you're really inserting yourself into a lot of these fundraisers.
I mean, isn't that a conflict of interest?
Right.
If there is ever such a thing.
It's, and I get it. Okay, can it be innocent? Can it be that they're supporting it, so they're spending their money in there and they're buying these baskets? Sure. But again, I think at some point there's got to be kind of a limit to that, and I'm not going to police it,
right.
So but then it becomes very unfortunate because I'm not going to police it, so therefore now I'm just like I'm frustrated, so it's like I'm out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be out. I mean, because people need help.
Yeah. Have people approached you at Broadway Car Care about gift certificates or anything like that, or free services?
3 or 4 a week.
Okay. So how many years have you been in business?
This is our 20th year. We're just finished up our 20th year.
Right. So from my perspective, when I first started on my own, like when I was at AutoZone, we'd have people monthly stop in and they say, hey, here's a flyer. Here's what I'm trying to raise money for. Yep. What can you do for me? And we'd just give a car wash bucket or something like that.
Sure.
And then, coming into doing my own thing, I want to get out there. I want to put my name out there, and I want to do some of these things. But man, that transition, it happened so quick between me wanting to, and looking for things to do and people coming to me looking for things. Yep. And I will say this, I kind of get myself into trouble a couple years ago with just doing too much of that.
Right.
It's like you can't give everything away.
You can't.
You really gotta slow down a little bit.
But you're right. Excuse me. When you start talking about that transition of, new startup into kind of getting your sea legs a little bit, you know what I mean? And then you transition into, I'm ready to retire. It's like I've been doing this forever, so I feel like I've been doing it for 100 years. Yeah. And you call the shop, and I mean today I don't know how many phone calls I got, but we're probably talking at least 70.
Sure.
And I took probably 14, 15 new appointments out of those 70 phone calls because we're 2 weeks out.
Sure.
And I don't want to wait 2 weeks. I'll be the first one to say that.
Yeah.
But I can only get so much done in a day also. Right. So at some point you have to be like, oh, well, that day's full. Let's go to the next day. Let's go to the next day. So today I was taking appointments for Monday the 13th. Well, that's 2 weeks out from today. And yeah, it's just, and so a lot of people are like, I can't wait that long. I get it. Well, sure, you can't squeeze me in sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of I take 5 or 6 phone calls in a row where people aren't making appointments because I'm so far out, which I don't blame them. Like I say, that's just part of the business. But then in the middle of that, I'm turning all these people away. Then I have someone coming in and saying, hey, can we help get your name out there? Or the phone rings and it's some telemarketer that's like, hey, we want to put your name on a such and such at this golf course. We're going to put you on their
Get those all the
scorecard.
time, constantly now.
Right. I mean, that stuff, it's, we want to put you on the placemats at this restaurant. And it's like, yeah, the worst, and I tell people right out, I said, the worst thing that could happen is it works.
Right.
The worst thing for me that could happen right now is I give you $300, $500, $2,800, whatever that package is, and you get me 5 new phone calls a day. I can't handle the ones I've got. I literally turned away 5 out of the last 7 phone calls before yours.
Yeah.
And so no. And then you have someone that comes in with, like you said, somebody has cancer or it's a skate park. It's something positive, But either way, it's just like, I used to love that stuff when we were a younger business because it's almost free advertising. I mean, you're giving something away, but these people have to now come in. So you're going to at least introduce yourself to one new person that you actually get to hands-on, face-to-face, say hello.
Yeah.
And then how many people saw it at the fundraiser? How many people were talking about the fundraiser?
Yeah.
Maybe one of your customers is at the fundraiser and says, hey, you should buy this. These guys are great. Or you hope they say, these guys are great.
Yeah.
But like you said, then all of a sudden, sometimes you get a reputation for that.
Yeah.
And like I said, the curse for me was then you start getting these organizers, they start getting lazy, and they know that they can come to me and get 3 or 4 different businesses involved, gifts, and that was a week's worth of hunting for them, and they can just now. But then it turns into, like I said, at the auto shop, it's 3 or 4 a week that want something, and so I used to give out oil changes is what we would do. We'd give out like a gift certificate for an oil change. Well, now you're booked out 2 weeks, giving out that oil change. It's like it's like our fleet accounts. We used to do fleet accounts, and you'd give them upwards of a 20% discount in labor. And years ago, had a bit of a falling out with one of our local used car dealers, and so he went an entire month, and he spent a fair amount with us. He was literally probably 8 or 9% of my gross revenue for the month.
That's a good chunk.
That's a good chunk, right? And we had a little bit of a falling out. He got mad at me, and all of a sudden, this was right at like the last couple days of the month, and come the first of the month, didn't hear from him. Phone didn't ring, didn't drop off anything, wasn't really annoying with just driving in the front door, throwing keys, like, yeah, I'll be back in an hour.
Right.
Hello? It's like I have other customers too, but I went an entire month. And on the 30th or 31st, I don't remember what it was, but the last day of the month, I get a phone call. And he says, hey, how's it going? I'm like, hey, stranger, how you doing? And I kind of laughed, and he's like, well, I'm good. I've got a couple cars I need to get in.
That's the worst, when someone's mad at you and you don't even know.
Yeah, and I just so I kind of laughed. And I was like, okay, so we're bringing cars back to us now. And he says, yeah, I kind of figured you'd notice.
Yeah,
I did notice. I did notice. Well, you didn't call. No, I was kind of enjoying myself. And he's like, excuse me?
Oh no.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not out there to upset somebody, but I was just like, yeah, it was kind of nice. He goes, how so? And not in a very good tone, to be honest, you know?
Right.
I was like, well, I said, at the time, we were, I think we were at $88 an hour. This was a lot of years ago, but
Sure.
I think we're at $88 an hour. We were doing his stuff for $69. So a $19 difference on 88. So you're talking almost a 25% swing.
Right.
And I said, I got to be honest. I said, this month we stayed busy. I billed everything out at $88 an hour, not $69 an hour. The people I billed out at $88 an hour called me, made an appointment, came in for their appointment with the expectation of getting their car back when I'm done with it. Not one person drove in my front door, threw keys at me unannounced, and said, I'll be back in an hour, and I'm going to pay you 25% less than your regular customer does. I said, so, yeah, kind of enjoying it.
Wow. I can only imagine what the response was.
He hung up on me.
Okay.
Yep, just hung up on me.
That's fair.
Yep, and it was. And after he hung up on me, I kind of sat back and I went, he's probably not coming back.
Right.
Right? I mean, that was not the way to handle that. That is not, as a small business owner, that is not, that's one of my stories of, I made a lot of mistakes over the years. We've all done.
Well, these are the
things.
kind of stories that we need to extract from you.
It is. I mean, because they're not. It's not all good, you know. And we've since made up. Life is good. He started his own shop. He's got his own thing going on. He's done really well, but he and I, we've talked many times. Like I say, we get along fine. I bought 1 or 2 cars from him since then. When he was short-staffed, he'd get himself a little and over his head. We'd bail him out. He hasn't been that way in a few years. He's got a good thing going now, with his own shop. So wish him all the best. I think he's got a hell of a system. He's a smart guy. But he did say, too, he says, he said, we took that month off, and he said, we didn't really do anything. We were just scavenging whoever could get us in because we didn't have the pull we had with you. We couldn't just throw keys at him and say, I'll be back in an hour. So he said, all of a sudden that kind of sunk in going, when you said all that, I thought about it. And he said, I didn't handle that situation right either. I got awful demanding. And so we really had a good talk. But this was like 3 months later, and we'd lost a customer. But in the end, everything I said was right. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't wrong, but being right can be painful too.
It can be.
Yeah. But we were busy enough. I didn't really need, so in all honesty, we had, and I'll apologize to you guys, or I did apologize to you guys years ago, but we had another like almost a dozen fleet accounts. And one by one, we just kind of told them we're out, and I had like 3 of those accounts, which I thought this was a lesson for me in small business. 3 out of those, let's say 10, 11 accounts that I just kind of told to go away, politely, asked me, why would you do this? Now think about that. Out of like 10, 11 accounts, only 3 of them asked me why. And they all liked us. We all got along.
Yeah.
And I told them this. I told them the story of the first dealer that I had talked about. I told them that story, and they said, "So you realized you'd rather work for retail, and have obedient customers, really?" And I'm like, "Well, to a point. It's not about obedience. It's just learn the rules, And I guess obedience is an okay word for it. It's a little condescending, and I don't mean it that way, but we all need to learn our place and how the systems work, and." One of the things I tell customers all the time, I tell them how we do something or appointment. Well, that's not going to work for me. I get it. It doesn't work for everybody, and we know that. And if you're one of the folks that it doesn't work for, I apologize, but I appreciate the call. Have a great day.
Yeah.
And people, for the most part, they're just flabbergasted. They won't take that as an answer. Most people, for me, if someone tells me to go away, I'm just going to go away. Right.
Yeah.
But people will argue about it, and they're just like, well, no, you come highly recommended. I want to use you. Great. Well, then. We open at 7:30, drop it off by 9. I'll get it done same day. I'll call you once I know what's wrong. We won't fix anything, spend any real money without talking to you first. The only thing you're on the hook for, if it's something we're going to charge a diagnostic fee, for, I'll tell them that. But if it's just something we're going to look at, it's a leak. I'm not going to charge you to look at that. I'll call you when I have an answer, but we'll have an answer by the end of the day, and make sure we have enough time to fix it if it's a small enough repair to do in a day. Well, no, I need an appointment. I need to come. I need to wait for it. Okay, yeah, that's not how we do it. I appreciate that. I'm sure,
I don't think. Do you even have a couch in your shop?
No.
Right.
Nope. We don't have a waiting room. I got a couple of chairs. They're really uncomfortable.
On purpose.
They look nice, but they're uncomfortable just because we bought them and said, Darwin actually bought them when I was on vacation one year. And I came back to that and I went,
You're just inviting people to sit down now.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I said, we got 2 chairs, so I'm going to put one by your toolbox in your bay so they can sit and stare at you, and then I'll keep the other one company.
Nice.
And he's just like, I don't think so. I'm like, I don't either. And I put him in the closet in the basement for a few months.
Sure.
And then it's like, okay, people still, it's cold in Minnesota. You need a place to sit down. Older folks would come, and I'd obviously go grab a chair and I'd put it out for them.
So you have a heart.
It's in there. Yeah. We take good care of our customers.
Sure.
I mean, but yeah, that was, so we put them out there so people can wait for their rides. But yeah, it's a drop off, situation, and I just never know what's going to be left over from the day before. If there's a bigger job, if there's waiting for parts, you just you don't know that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we do like to in and out, but yeah, folks will just argue. Well, no, I can bring it at 10:30 and I'll wait for it. It's like, I understand that's what you want, and that's what you're used to. It's just not how we do it here.
Yeah. Man, I can tell you that's something that was very uncomfortable for me to do right off the bat. But what did help was that I started working from home. And I would just tell people, I don't have a place for you to wait.
Yeah.
And people still call me to this day and say, can I sit there and wait for it? And I just tell them, I don't have a waiting area.
Yep.
I need it dropped off at X time, and then I'll call or text you when it's ready, or when I'm wrapping up if you need a heads up.
Yeah.
But but just touching a little bit more about like a good quality customer is what I'll call it. Back in my AutoZone days, as you know, I took over as a store manager not too long after I started there.
Yep.
And we had a pretty, I would say, weaselly store manager before me.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked the system. He was numbers guy, and they had certain KPIs, metrics,
Yep.
that they would measure that say you're a good performer. And he would cheat the system for sure. He would tell people, if you buy, for example, brake pads, you need this, and this, so that he can get the extra points for the add-on sales. And he would tell people that if you do this, then you get free brake pads for life, basically, even if they wear out, which is not the case.
Right.
So when I took over, I'd still have a lot of those people that would come in and they want to warranty their pads because they're worn out.
Right.
Because they're worn out.
Right, because they're worn out.
Normal wear and tear.
I say we should mention to those who aren't familiar with auto parts, and brake pads for the most part will come with a lifetime warranty.
They do.
And that is a lifetime warranty. It's saying that the manufacturer is saying, we're going to build these right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to fall apart. They're not going to be defective. They're not going to just break apart.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a friction material. It is made to be worn out.
It is a wear and tear item.
Right. So if your brake pads go from 100% to 0% without any faults or defects along the way, that's a win.
They've served their life.
They've served their life. Now they're worn out. That's not a warranty scenario.
Right.
But if that pad is half left and a chunk breaks off, yeah, take them off, bring them in. We'll get you a new set.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, the wear and tear side of it. But people see lifetime warranty, and let's be honest, customers, they hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
You tell someone, well, this is probably somewhere between $100 and $200. They hear $95. I mean, that's what they get out of that conversation.
Yeah.
Yep. And like, for instance, we don't, for years, we would put in other people's parts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could come to you when you were at AutoZone, buy their own stuff and bring it to me. We just charge them labor. We'd put it in.
Yeah.
And, but again, we were hungry. We wanted that business. We needed that, we had empty hours in our day. So let's fill them. I'd rather be doing something than nothing.
Yeah.
Then as you get busier, you start realizing that all of a sudden when they buy, if they're going to go buy it from you, who I would buy it from you, fair enough. But all of a sudden now they're going online, they're finding something, it's what they should be paying $40 or $50 for, they're getting for $12.99,
Mm-hmm.
and they're bringing it to us, and then when it fails, it's like, well, you must have done something wrong.
Right. No.
Well, maybe it's the $12 pads you bought.
Right.
Might be the problem. And even when you were at the store, there were pads that you wouldn't put on your own car.
Nope.
But the store has to have that bottom to the top, which you got to applaud them for having that kind of foresight and inventory.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as a professional, I'm not going to take the cheapest thing.
Right.
That they're, because I'm going to put my name on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then somebody started to tell, well, I can't put on your own parts. I can't put your parts in because we can't warranty it. And I don't need any warranty.
Right.
You say that now.
Right.
But and I know that you put brakes on that car, normal wear and tear, you should get 3 to 5 years out of that brake pad, or that whatever. And 8 months from now, when that pad breaks apart, or that caliper sticks, or whatever that you just bought and we put on for you, you're not going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no recourse on anyone but me.
Mm-hmm.
And all we did is put on the junk you bought.
Right.
And unfortunately, sometimes the stuff we buy turns out to be junk too. But when it does, we stand behind it.
Yeah.
I don't tell people, well, let me go see what my supplier is going to do about the parts. I know what the supplier is going to do for the parts, but even if I don't, that's irrelevant. This is my customer. You bought the parts from me. I mean, at that point, I might as well have handmade them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have to stand behind that, and I'm not going to shy away from that. You're going to take care of your customer.
Yeah.
And then you go beat up your vendor if they don't want to take care of you. And, hopefully you buy enough from them, you've got some leverage, or they're just good people and they stand behind things.
Right.
But, and every once in a while you run into that thing where you get it apart and you're like, oof, it is installer error.
Yeah.
We made a mistake. We're humans. We're human beings. That happens. But there again, when we get it apart and we see that it wasn't a part failure, the part failed, but it's because we didn't grease the slides or we didn't something. It was an installer issue that we should have taken care of, or there's something wrong we should have noticed.
Yeah.
At that point, it's like, yeah, I
oh
own
my
that.
gosh, Jerry, the stories I have about some of the DIY jobs.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Even installing brake pads backwards.
Yeah.
The backing material onto the rotors.
We had a Dodge 3/4 ton. This goes back, probably 12 years ago. And he brings it to us, says, well, he said, my brakes are grinding. I'm like, okay, no problem. We'll take a look and see what's going on. They're brand new brakes. I'm like, oh, that's weird, but all right. I said, how long before? Well, he said, I'm not kidding you. They were grinding. My buddy and I put brakes in it, and he said, they're grind worse after we did them than. I was like immediately. I mean, it didn't run like a week or two. Like I'm thinking a caliper stuck and ground them down. We get in there, and they had literally put the pad in backwards, and it's metal backing plate on the rotor, and I'm just like, and then they drove it to us like that. I thought, wow, okay, I'm not telling you have to take everything to a shop, but boy, you got to know your limits.
No, but I mean, to the point too, going back to, just looking for those high quality customers, or at least those that, won't give you as much grief.
Right.
I mean, the people that were coming back for, replacement free brake pads or whatever because they bought, the things that they were supposed to buy to get that warranty.
That warranty, yeah.
Yeah. I had to break the news to them, and I just put it right out there. I said, hey, listen, previously the manager before me, he lied to you. Like this stuff doesn't come with a lifetime warranty just because they wear out. Like you don't just get to get new brake pads.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in trouble. He got let go, so I don't. I like my job and I want to keep it, so I got to play by the rules.
Yep.
And here's how it's going to go moving forward. And we lost a lot of those customers.
I bet.
But at the same time, I think a lot of people realized, that we had more integrity and we were more trustworthy. And slowly but surely, the business just blew up to the point where I don't know if I've ever divulged this to you, but I got President's Club for having one of the top performing stores in the country.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. I believe that. And it's really sad when you watch that roller coaster because you did have that store really moving, and then you look at it now.
Well, shit. I mean, I came in thinking, oh, I'm the new commercial sales manager. I went from part-time to commercial sales manager, and I'm going to get this thing started. And then I talked to you. You were the first person to tell me that store used to have a commercial program, and then they took their trucks away. How are you supposed to make deliveries with no trucks? Yeah. So that was news to me. And then soon after that is when everybody else started telling me.
Yeah. Well, that was a hard spot. I forgot about that because I can't remember his name, but he was from down south, heavyset guy. Sure. From like Alabama, thick drawl. I mean, thick drawl. On the phone, it was almost hard to understand him sometimes. Super nice guy. And he got us all set and trying to get us into their wholesale program. And I'm like, we're not really AutoZone customers. AutoZone's more retail, more gimmicky. True. That was my outside or my insight on it. I thought, no, I need like real parts. I need O'Reilly's. I need Napa. I need that kind of. Can't tell you
how many times I heard that.
Yeah, I bet.
But it was true.
They really catered to the shops, to the wholesale customer. And so I can't remember this guy's name, but he starts bringing me his own car. He said, I got a couple things here. I'm a DIY guy because, been in the business. But I think we put a clutch in an S10 for him, if I remember right. And he says, this is beyond me. So he brings it down and he said, and we weren't buying parts from him. So he didn't take it to a shop he was selling parts to. He was trying to get the business. Yep. So again, you got to applaud the guy. He was creative and he spent his own money to get there, But he gets us in. He comes in. He talks somebody into, we're buying parts. He said, first of the month. He said, next week, first of the month. Next month, whatever you buy from me, I'm going to come back at the end of the month. He says, I'm going to be here on the first of next month. And he says, and I'm going to expect you to write me a check on the spot for what you bought this coming month. Okay. He says, no grace period, no mail it in. I'm going to come in on the first. You're going to pay me. But when you write me that check, he said, I am going to take it back to the store. And he said, I'm going to come back. I'm going to have a box of donuts. I'm going to have a pizza. I'm going to have something trinkety, something to warm your heart. And I'm going to come back with a stack of greenbacks. And I'm going to give you back 10% of the check you just wrote me in cash. Nobody be the wiser. Yep. I was like, stores don't do that. And he laughs and goes, stores don't do that. But he said, we're going to do this once because I want you to see how good my inventory is. I want you to call me for a month. I want to get that muscle memory. And I want you to see how good we are at what we do. Sure. Because he said, you're telling me that AutoZone can't sell commercial because there's Napas and O'Reilly's out there catering to the commercial customer. Yeah. And I'm like, that's how I see it. Great. So he said, 10% back. And he said, I'm telling you right now, he said, if you need a price match, you're going to see our prices are really good. Yeah. And we did it for the month, and we spent a pile of money. And he came back at the end of the month. He's like, this was awesome. He said, I had no idea that your little shop could spend that kind of money, you know? And he did exactly what he said he would do. I wrote him a check. He left. He came back within an hour, and he had like 3 pizzas for us.
That's awesome.
And he comes back with a pile of cash, and he just literally flipped it out on the counter. He says, there you go. Spend it where you want.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, kid. He goes, I'm not doing it again. He said, this month, but he said, now you know who we are.
Yeah.
And he really, I mean, we did. We bought a pile of parts from you guys for, probably, going on a year. And then middle of the month, he just calls me, and he sounds like a broken human being when he called me. I mean, he cared about what he did. I mean, he was like you. I mean, he really did a good job. But when he called me, he was just like completely down and out. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? He said, we're out of the commercial business.
Wow.
I'm like, say that again? He goes, AutoZone. I said, your store, you're leaving? Where are you going? He goes, no, I'm not leaving. He said, I probably will be. But he said, as of right now, I'm not leaving. But he's like, no, I said, we're out of commercial business. So it's going to come out of the South store then? Yeah,
there was no South store at the time.
Oh, wasn't there then?
No.
No, not yet. Okay. But I'm like, where's it going to come from? He goes, no, we're AutoZone as a corporate entity. We're out of the wholesale business.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there on the phone, just, kind of flabbergasted. And then it kind of hit me. I said, so what do I do when I get warranty stuff? He's like, I said, you'll still take care of us on that, right? He goes, as a store, we'll take care of it. But he said, I just helped them, like, unload our personal effects out of the trucks and stuff, a little bit that we had from the store in the trucks. He said that the trucks are gone. They left like a half hour ago. He said, I'm just on the phone now telling everybody. I'm like, so this happened like a half hour ago. This isn't happening sometime in the near future. This is done. He goes, yeah, I don't even have a truck. He said, if you call for a tie rod end or a light bulb on this conversation, you got to come pick it up. I can't even get it to you.
Wow.
So for the next year, I'm literally having to drive parts up to AutoZone to get warranties because parts fail, and things happen. And what am I getting? I'm putting the salt in there. I'm getting a credit. It's like, okay, what good does a credit do me? You're not going to deliver parts.
Right.
So I have this revolving account that I'm building credit on. And I finally blew a gasket at the right person, and they sent me a check.
Good.
But it was like 4 or 5 months later, they sent me a check for all this warranty stuff, that I had to buy elsewhere.
Sure.
And it's like, you've got to be kidding me.
Right.
And so, that was, then of course you come along, and I didn't know you, and I'm just like, dude, sell your snake oil somewhere else. I remember that conversation. It's just like, you got to be kidding me. And I felt bad because, you literally had that look on your face like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And and I'm thinking, and of course, put yourself in my shoes. I'm thinking, how can you not know this?
Right.
I just, this is ridiculous. Yeah. Just sell it somewhere else. I was like, man, I am not falling for that again.
Yeah, they even took our pictures. They took my picture. They took a picture of the store manager, the territory sales manager, and they put it in mailers all over Rochester. Yeah. I probably still have a copy of that.
Yeah.
And you should have just seen how happy I was and excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you come into my store, and I'm just like,
yeah,
pop the balloon. It's like, yeah, I just thought, but how do you expect me to jump back in that arena, after the headache I had last time?
Yeah.
I don't remember how long it was. It was quite a while. It had to be 5-6 years or better between the two.
Yeah.
They were out of the wholesale game for a long time. But when you were there, you did a really good job. And then when Candy took over for you, she kept it up. She did a really good job.
Yeah.
And then when Candy left, it just house of cards.
Yeah.
House of cards just literally fell apart. Yes.
And that's the difference maker right there is the people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not about the business at all. It's about the people.
It really is, yeah.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, I did struggle for quite a while, even with upper management, showing them how much potential Rochester had.
Mm-hmm.
Like I spent so much time and energy and just trying to find the person that would actually listen. And even one of my district managers at one point made the mistake of taking one of my cars away. And I'm like, this thing is gonna implode if you do that. And he took it for a week, and it imploded. And the store that got it didn't do any better. If anything, they did worse. So he got the car back for me, and then it just kept going up from there. Yep. So we were close to almost imploding with just one vehicle, but it was just a struggle. And then inventory, that's a whole nother story too. You know, just showing them, trying to convince the right person. We need another store. We need a closer warehouse. We need to run to the warehouse on a daily basis or something like that. Like,
some kind of access.
It's expensive. All I kept hearing is expensive. It takes time, and it's like, let's find a courier.
Right.
You know, the business is here. We just gotta make the investment, and we'll get it.
Well, and that's the thing. You know, when you talk to the corporate side of things, I'm not a big fan of the corporations, the big corporations.
Yeah.
But it's like, so wait a second. I guarantee you, while you're there begging for some inventory, begging for another vehicle,
I did everything I could.
all that
get
stuff's
another
expensive.
vehicle.
As a business owner now, you get
sure.
that. It's all expensive. But my thing, when I was working in corporate America, and we'd have something like that, like in that instance, and the thing I would always bring up then, it's like, who's in charge of new stores? You know, the research, the R&D on where are we going to put our next new store? Who's in charge of that? And they rattle off a name that meant nothing to me. And I'm not going to remember it 2 seconds after they say it. But they said it. So they know there's a guy. They know there's a team or a guy or a couple guys or a gal or whatever the case is. And it's like, so these guys are trying to figure out how to spend a few $1 million to get new business.
Yeah.
When you have a store, you have inventory, you have employees right here, we are tapping whatever percentage of our market, but it's not 100. It's probably not even 50.
It was less than that.
Right. You're talking probably.
less than
You're on it. I mean, in
Yeah.
Rochester, your store is probably touching single digits as far as percentage of their clientele,
Absolutely.
of their
Easily.
potential. So you can't find it now. Okay, so even you go buy a small little hatchbacks that you can deliver most of the parts in your store in. You know, most of the stuff can go in a hatchback. $20,000 if you're buying it new. If you're buying something with a few miles on it, or you've got one at a store that's not producing awesome, that's money, 20 grand. Compared to opening a new store to tap into a market that you haven't even touched, there's a lot of marketing that goes into a brand new store when it never existed there, and you're going to open it up to market to that client base. That's huge money. Marketing is expensive. And it's like, so we're already here. People already know we're here. We have the ability to tap into another 91% of our market. You know, the last 91% we haven't touched. Yeah. And you can't give me a $20,000 vehicle,
Right.
or you can't give me another even $100,000 in inventory
Or hours.
for employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, who's in charge of the new store? Of that I always ask that. Who's in charge of the R&D on a new store, a new facility, whatever? Because I'm telling you, those guys, you're about to write a 7-figure check to those guys.
Right. And there's a lot of labor involved in setting up a new store too.
Yeah.
I've been involved in several.
Yeah. But I mean, when you start up your own business, you feel like a man on an island.
Yeah.
It's like you're calling your friends, you're calling your nephews, you're calling everybody going, hey, I'm in business.
Walking down the neighborhood, handing out business cards with my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, my dad's opening up a new detail and tinting shop, and I literally did that with my kids.
Yep. And you think about that now, using that analogy, just your client base, potential client base, isn't just Stewartville. Obviously, people come from all over, but doing it that way, you feel like you're accomplishing something, and you are. You're going to get some people out of that. You're going to get in front of people, and you're going to probably get a few clients. But now talk about percentage of client base that you're getting in front of when you're walking door to door.
Minuscule.
I mean, you're right. You're talking a fraction of a percent. You're not.
But I
even
was doing
single digits.
everything though. Facebook.
Right. But you know what I'm
Social media
saying.
in general.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But your
Neighborhood.
Facebook. I mean, and you're good with Facebook. I mean, you're very good with social media. I'm very impressed with what you do. But even so, let's say a month after you opened, with all you, I mean, how many followers did you have on Facebook? Would you guess in your first month?
Gosh, not much.
Not much,
No.
right? I mean, but you got to start there, and you can't.
I
give
think
up
with
on it.
friends and family, maybe hit 100.
Yeah, maybe hit 100. And you look back on it. If you said, well, you can get to 100 people in the first couple of weeks, well, that's not going to work.
Right.
I mean, that's the idea. That's not going to work. But you made it work. I mean, because you've been in for what, 4 years, a little over 4 years now,
Almost.
and now you're going into a facility.
Yep.
So that's a big step.
It is a big step.
Yep.
Scary.
Necessary,
Necessary.
but necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and not to say you couldn't do it out of your house forever, but you're never gonna.
Sorry, just thinking about something funny. So I just had someone drop off a vehicle last week for one of my good clients. I think I've done 7-8 vehicles for him now at this point.
Oh, sure.
Window tint mostly.
Okay. Yep.
And anyway, so he warned me. He's like, hey, I'm gonna have my boy his oldest, drop off the vehicle, and the person that was going to give him a ride back was his wife, which I didn't know. So when she when she picked up their kid, she said, I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be driving this to the shop. I actually started moving all my equipment into the shop here a couple days ago, and it's in Rochester, and my customer already knows that I'm going to be driving his vehicle. He gave me his permission or whatever. And she's like, well, that's going to be inconvenient. They're from Iowa, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And so she's like, that's going to be inconvenient. And I'm like, actually, no, that's going to be more convenient for me, because now I can park my Nova in the garage, and now I don't have to work from home, and I'll have more space, and it'll be nice, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I let my client know, the person who actually owned the vehicle, and he's like, oh, yeah, that's my ex-wife.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That makes
awesome.
sense.
That's my ex-wife.
Yeah, that's my ex-wife.
That's great.
So we got a good laugh out of that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be inconvenient.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But I wanted to mention a couple of other things too, because we kind of went on a whole thing. So backtracking to the whole thing about getting your name out there and getting involved with the community and doing giveaways or whatever.
Yep.
I don't know how you do it, but I'd love to hear more about how you do it. But something I realized almost right away, just even after a year of doing it, is I can't help everyone. I can't give away my services, because then that just takes time away from me from actually making the money that I need, not just to grow the business and reinvest into the business and take care of my family.
Right.
To buy some bread and some bacon maybe.
Yep.
But I learned to turn it off a little bit, and instead of waiting for people to come to me, now I'm actively looking for things that I want to do.
Right.
Like the marathon, like the skate park. So if somebody comes to me, I just simply tell them, I'm sorry, it's just not in my budget right now. I can't do that. I've already allocated my dollars towards other things.
That's the key right there. I mean, if you have no money today,
it wasn't easy to do, but
it's not easy to do.
It's necessary,
because you want to help everybody.
Right.
I mean, you really do. You know, but no, you're right. I mean, if you have no money today, and Friday you get your paycheck and it's $100, well, you're going to set a budget of $120.
Right.
I mean, right? You can't. I mean, if you're going to have $100 on Friday, your budget has to be no more than $100, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing that I figured out was, okay, you do have to set a budget for that. I mean, you have your advertising budget. You know what you're going to spend on your chemicals or your parts or your employees. I mean, you don't just let them. You can't let just employees work as many hours as they want.
Right.
Especially when you start talking over 40 is overtime. That time and a half. Are you going to get your value back on that time and a half? I mean, like right now at the auto shop, these guys, whatever they want to work, they work. If they, I think Brandon had 47 hours last week. Sure. Now I didn't ask him to work over 40, and I won't. But there's plenty of work to do, and that last 7 hours, that's time and a half. But he's a good employee, and he's hustling, so that's what we did. And we're 2 weeks out. So if I got a guy that wants to throw in a couple extra hours, stay a little late, come in a little early, and he's got work to do, brother, get to it. Love it. And it'll come back when we slow down and we get back to full staff, whatever the case is. We'll delegate some extra time off or something. But when you have those giveaways, you have to budget that. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you hit it right on the head. You kind of budget it. I started budgeting it like by the month, because if I budgeted for a year, I'd blow my budget by March. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, so I've got 9 months. I'm like, sorry, spent my wad, can't do it. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, July or September, October, November come around, and then there's something out there that really hits close to home that you want to do. Whether it's community, maybe you've got a sentimental something in your head, whatever it is, and then you break your rule because, well, I want to be part of this. Yeah. And then that triggers a lesson. It's like, there's all kinds of charitable things that we could be doing that would still give us some exposure when you're early on in your career. And you're like, so it does benefit me to help them also, minimally, but it's something. Yeah. And now it's like, this is what I should be doing. I should be doing the stuff I want to do. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, you touched on everything when you asked how I do it. it took me 10 years,
Wow.
literally probably 12 years
Sure.
to figure that out, in what I was doing. But it's like, yeah, I need a budget. I need to budget it in shorter chunks of time
Yeah.
because it's too hard to budget for a year when you've got people coming in. I mean, I have probably 12 to 20 different people a month that are coming in asking for things just in the auto shop.
Yeah.
And it's hard to just, how do you, in the beginning, when you're looking at a budget and you've got X amount to spend, how do you say no to somebody?
Mm-hmm.
They're all, I mean, nobody comes in saying they want drug money. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like
Yeah.
they're not coming. I need another, captain or crown bottle.
Right.
They all come in with a valid fundraiser. They're, like I said, whether it's something civic, whether it's my neighbor's house burnt down, like I said, dark things,
Yeah.
as well as positive things. And how do you say no? And then of course, your real mettle is tested when you've graduated past needing that exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And now, when you give something out, you're helping because you really want to help.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times when we'll give out like an oil change or something, and we always used to give like a flyer kind of thing that they could stand up behind it and it would talk about us and how to get a hold of us, and we'd hand them a half-inch stack of business cards
Yeah.
to put around it or whatever so people could take get the exposure. Now when people come in, we'll do like a gift certificate for an oil change. We still kind of do the same kind of stuff, but you hand it to them and you're like, do you have a basket of other automotive stuff or guy stuff or home improvement? That oil change isn't a home improvement, but it kind of goes in that it's the things that have to be done. Do you have a basket like that you can slip this in? And it's like, I don't want to be first and foremost. I don't want to be front line. I don't need the exposure, but I still want to give something. I still want to help. But can you tuck this in and add value to someone else's package with it?
Sure.
You
Yeah.
don't have to put my name. My name's on it because the oil change is there, but it doesn't need to be advertised as mine.
Right.
Stuff it in a, I don't care if you put it with some dog treats. Everybody's got a car,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so now the gun shop, it's still kind of the other way around. It's like, now we give out hats and hoodies and things that people are going to wear and they're going to be able to help, kind of promote the
got your logo
business.
on it, yeah.
Right. Got her logo on it, advertise for us. So that's another thing too, when you have multiple businesses, it's like having 4 kids,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you and your wife are together, you've got your kids, those kids grew up with the same mom, the same dad, in the same house, going to the same school, same values instilled on them. Not one of those kids is identical,
Nope.
right? I mean, they're all,
Man, you think you know how to take care of the next child once you have your first, and then the second child comes through and it's like a completely different experience.
yeah, just,
And then you have 2 kids and you're like, okay, I think we've experienced both ends of the spectrum, and then the third child comes in and just throws everything
yeah, it's like,
out the door.
how many different ones are there?
It's like, dang, man. Doesn't matter how experienced you are.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Every kid is different. They're all going to test you in different ways. And when you have a business, when you have multiple businesses too, it's like once one business graduates to that next level in so many areas, not just donations and marketing, but so many levels, the other businesses, they don't graduate at the same time.
No.
And they may never graduate in the same way,
Right.
And so you've got to keep track of all that. And when someone's talking about things, it's like I've mentioned it on 2 podcasts already, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we talk about red car theory. You and I talked about that in the driveway a couple weeks ago.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And you've always got to be open and paying attention, looking for those opportunities. And for those of you that haven't listened to other podcasts, I'm not going to explain it again this time. I won't bore everybody that has, but Google red car theory. It's an amazing, simple theory, and it really works. But it's a way I use that as a way to recognize opportunity. And so when I said earlier, I have the gal that likes to come and just kind of put all her eggs in one basket. Hey, how about you just give me a donation from every one of your businesses, and then I'll be done for the week. On my part, and I can turn off to the rest of the committee and let them do their thing. It also works the other way. Someone comes to me and says, hey, I want to do this with the auto shop. What do you think? Because they're an auto shop customer. Can you do this? And I'm sitting there thinking, I really don't want that because I don't need the phone to ring more right now.
Because you're probably going to lose the sale anyway because you're 2 weeks out. And I mean, I've got a similar experience. It seems like when I'm about a month out, people are like, no, that's too far out already. It happened today.
Yeah.
Someone called me for an estimate on window tint, and they wanted to do it. And I said, okay, well, November 20th. That's my first available for tint.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, geez, I didn't realize you were that far out. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And if they do call and you do get that appointment, you're going to push someone else out because of it
Yeah.
that would have already been there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, put all that effort to not gain anything. That's hard. But again, keep an open mind. Where all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, how do you feel about firearms?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Because that business, I would love to give you a hoodie and a baseball cap and a $50 gift certificate or something. I mean, if we just keep using that scenario of fundraisers or things, all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm really not. Broadway Car Cares, we've kind of spent our budget.
Yeah.
Just use that as the reason. But or like Design HQ, we're going to do. How would you like some shirts for this event?
Sure.
It's like I'm not going to give you any money. I'm not going to give you a gift certificate. But do you want some shirts for the event? I'll make up some shirts. Maybe like your marathon thing, same kind of thing. It's like, how about I do a shirt for you?
Yeah.
Or you actually asked me about that. Would you do this for me? I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll buy a shirt. We'll put it together. And these events, like you want some golf towels, you want something, and all of a sudden it's because we just went through this with someone in one of my networking groups. She was having a golf tournament. Matter of fact, Luann was just on our podcast. We recorded a podcast Thursday night, and we did chatted with Luann and Craig. And so she was talking about Broadway Car Care because that's who I'm in the networking group with. And I said, I'd rather not. And of course, she kind of looks at me like I didn't want her to think I was blowing her off because it wasn't personal at all. It wasn't like I didn't want to support her or her women's group.
Sure.
Excuse me, but I said, how about golf towels? And she's like, it's a golfing event. That'd be great. I'm like, how many ladies you're gonna have? About 60. I'm like, okay, I can do 60 golf towels. I said they're gonna, and she goes,
60?
60.
What?
And I was like, I'll do 60 golf towels. That's what she said. She goes,
Wow.
you're gonna do one for everybody? I'm like, yep. I said they're gonna have Happy Garage Doors on it because that's our new garage door company. At the time, it's like Happy Garage Doors will be opening next Monday. And she's like, Happy Garage Doors. I'm like, yeah, it's the new garage door company. We do garage doors, we openers, repair, maintenance, replacement, whatever, And she's like, well, isn't Blake gonna? I was like, Blake's my partner. Blake's new. I said, I'm not climbing ladders. I'm too old and fat for that. I'm not doing ladders. I said, Blake does all the work. I'm gonna fund it. I'm gonna help out with that. But I said, yeah, I'll get you. So I said, give me a week. When's the term? She goes, oh, it's like 3 weeks away. I'm like, perfect. We'll get them done. So I called Blake and I said, Blake, when do you got time? We're gonna do golf towels. And he's like, we're gonna make golf towels? Yes, we are. We are all. I said, I'll teach you. I said, but I need you to take a piece of the assembly line. And I said, we're gonna bang out 60 golf towels for Luann.
Nice.
And he was like, well, I play disc golf. We're making. He says, I play disc golf, and I got a lot of buddies in the disc golf and friends. We go to these tournaments and things, and I was like, still a golf towel. I mean, same, in that sense. So I think we made 75 of the golf towels, sure. And he took a pile of them with him, and I gave the rest to Luann for her tournament. Yeah. But there again, she asked about Broadway Car Care, and I was like, and I saw the look in her face when I said, not interested.
Right.
And I'm like, that was rude. I don't mean like I'm not interested. It's just, and I explained it to her, and of course she understands. She's a business coach, so she gets it. She's like, I said, but Happy Garage Doors, I would love to get a leg up on, that, at least get my name out there now. And let's be honest, 60 golf towels. Like I said, that's a bunch. That's a lot. But if you get one garage door sale out of those 60 towels, even if I'm hoping we get 3 or 4, maybe 5 people to call us for a free estimate so we can at least get out in their house and show them what we can do. Yeah. Hope, Blake's a hell of a salesman. He's a good kid. He's clean cut. He's intelligent. He's very well spoken. I mean, and he's good at what he does. Yeah. He's very good at the garage doors.
You got your truck wrapped yet with your logo?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. And there again, as you accumulate businesses, I guess, if that's a thing.
It is.
But we took Happy Garage Door from casual conversation to business theory to business plan to exit strategy to open in about 4.5 weeks. Yeah. Now, 10 years ago, I couldn't have done that. I mean, some of it's a little bit financial, but it's having the network. I mean, all of a sudden, we trying to find a truck in this market. I wasn't going to go out and spend $70,000 or $80,000 on a truck and then put 10 or 15 or $20,000 into equipment on it. I found an old used truck. It's a 10-year-old truck, 200,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
But it looked good. It ran well. Had a little leak here, which you can't have that going into a customer's driveway.
Right.
But it had an oil leak, had an antifreeze leak. A couple latches weren't working right. Light out. Brought it to the shop with Broadway Car Care. Brought it in the shop, oil change. Put a couple latches in the construction topper that was already on it. We fixed the exhaust. We fixed a coolant hose. We put an oil pan gasket on it. Now we can pull in anybody's driveway. It doesn't leak a drop. Mm-hmm. It has a 4.3 V6 in it.
Yeah.
So I called around to a couple of salvage yards we work with and said, how much for a 4.3? Well, they're anywhere from $600 to $900. How about a tranny for that thing? It's a 2-wheel drive truck, so talk about simple to work on. You can have a tranny in and out of that thing in 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Motor can be in and out in 4 or 5 hours, and transmission $400. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so the two biggest expenses you'll have in that thing if it shits the bed is going to be tranny and motor. I can do them both for under $2,000.
Yeah.
And I can have them done in a day at the shop.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Right.
And I paid. Literally paid cash for it because we didn't have to. I'm not spending $70,000 on a truck.
Yeah.
You pay cash for it. We get it home. Get the guys. Took an afternoon. Spent about 2.5 hours, about 3 hours on it. Everything's done. Thing looks good. Run it home. Design HQ. Start getting vinyl. I call my artist in Boston. He does a logo for me.
Yeah.
Give it to Blake. Say, what do you think of this? Because I have an exit strategy in this business. We talk about that in this podcast too. We had the exit strategy on my end was there prior to the business plan. Mm-hmm. Never done that before. That was a first for me. But it's going to work out good. We're going to have to come up with an exit strategy for Blake, but I'm 52. Blake is 27.
Yeah.
10 years from now, he will own that business lock, stock, and barrel with no debt, and I'll be out.
Yeah.
And I'll have been paid, and life is good, and I'll have some fun along the way. I'm learning things.
Yeah.
But we get the logo. I bring it back with the Design HQ. We're able to do all the vinyl for the truck. So we do all the vinyl. We get the vinyl on the truck. Again, with Design HQ, we do apparel. So we get Carhartt uniform shirts and pants. Put the logo on it, just like the black. I have the Broadway Car Care logo on this.
Yeah, I like it.
And it's a little kind of a dark take on the logo. It's got a skull on it with his tongue hanging out, but it's fun. It's and we've got our guy in Boston, Jay Boucher, incredible artist. He's actually gonna be doing a podcast when we're in Jamaica next month.
Yeah.
I got my little portable podcast set up. We're gonna try these on the beach in a few weeks, but
or poolside.
Yeah, something. Maybe both. We'll see how it goes. But so I was able to get the uniform stuff, get the logo, put into a direct to film, get it on the shirts, get it on a jacket. So all that stuff, 4.5 weeks.
Yeah.
From start to finish.
And they're all your businesses.
And they're all my businesses.
So, question for you: Did Happy Doors pay those businesses?
Jerry did.
Jerry did. Got it.
Jerry did. But yeah, it's all under the name of Happy Garage Doors. So Happy Garage Doors gets billed just like a regular customer in that sense. You got to keep it separate. Obviously, you get a deal.
Yeah.
The owner. So
gotta give yourself a deal.
You got to give yourself a deal because right now the other businesses are all flourishing. Mm-hmm. They're doing very well. Happy Garage Door is not because it wasn't open.
Right.
We're just getting started. So, but you write up the invoice, you pay it, and I paid it, and then that just goes towards the investment into the business.
Sure.
But you keep verticality is something that if you're going to, like I say, if you're going to accumulate business that will help each other. Mm-hmm. Now these aren't all directly related. I have a friend of mine. He's in the pet treat business. Mm-hmm. But now talk about verticality. This guy has got it figured out. He's done very well for himself. He's an 8-figure business. But he owns farms. He owns rendering plants. He owns factories to literally dry the meats and create the slew that they cut into treats and whatever. All he really needs was at the time, a year ago when we were, talking last about this, he needed a packaging company, someone to put it in bags and labels on it, and he needed a store to sell it. Mm-hmm. Needed end users. Yeah. So he needed he needed customers. He basically just needed a retailer and a packager, and that's otherwise everything else, he was just literally shifting money, kicking the can down the road and this $5 turned into $7 here, turned into $9 there, turned into $12 here, and the end user's paying him $20 for the product, and every one of his companies takes that $20 and just literally funnels right down the way.
Yeah.
It's incredible, incredible. And I don't have that kind of system yet, and probably won't at my age. I'm just getting too old for that.
You never know at your rate.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it is nice that everything can help each other. You know. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and
I guess that's something I realized too. Once I got into business for myself, is it would be nice if I could do a lot of the stuff myself. So once I started to realize, like, okay, this is something that I can do. For example, doing just stuff on social media, marketing and advertising and things like that. There's some tools, software that make that a little bit easier. And once I started doing more and more of that, I realized I'm like, well, I could just turn this into a LLC, and I know my wife and my kids, they wanted to do some stuff too, more arts and crafts type things. So that's how I came up with Design Studio. My kid got into doing decals with ePrint for us until he can afford to buy his own printer.
He's talented. He's sharp. 11.
He's 11.
11, yeah.
He just turned
Jamie's sharp. I like that kid.
He's a really smart kid. We're really blessed to have him as the oldest, but lacks a little bit in common sense, a little bit, just a little bit. Sometimes.
He's 11. He's 11. We got to cut him a little slack.
Yeah, he is an 11-year-old.
He's an 11-year-old.
And then my daughter, she got into making bracelets and things like that too. But anyway, long story short is. Having multiple businesses was never something that I strived for. It's just something that I realized was something that I should be doing to help create not just multiple revenue streams, but also just to supplement the one business that I do have going really well right now. So and there's others in the works, I think, maybe. So we'll see.
Well, and this is something I'm going to touch on in a couple episodes from now. I guess I shouldn't say that. I don't know how these are going to line up, so I got to be careful with our listeners. But I'm going to touch on a little bit now when it comes to starting a new business. The garage door company being kind of the exception to that. That was, I'll get into that in another podcast or another episode. But for the most part, when I see, like you said, when I see something going, man, I should be doing this for myself. And you do that 2 or 3 or 10 times, and pretty soon you're wearing 9 hats, and you're doing everything, and you're either not getting any sleep or you're not doing everything well. One of the two. Something's got to give, right?
That's true.
And so then I went, okay, wait a minute. Luann Beekler, again, she was on last episode. She used to always say, do what you do best and outsource the rest. That was kind of her tagline. And it's like, okay, there's definitely an argument to be made for that, because I want to sleep a little,
Sleep is good.
Yep. And I want to make
if
sure.
I get 6.
Right. But I want to make sure that when I'm awake and I'm working, I'm doing it well. Right. I mean, I don't expect to ever be the best at anything, but I want to do the best I can. And so then I kind of laid off of doing anything extra, ran my business, paid everybody else to do the other things while I did my thing. And I had success with that. But then that keeps creeping in, going, when I'm outsourcing this stuff and you don't have a good experience. So you're like, okay, well, this is uncomfortable, but you're fired. And I'm not going to go with your company anymore. I'm going to go over here. And then you go over here and you have the same issue, or you have an issue. And it's like, you're fired.
On to the next.
On to the next one. On to the next one. And after a while, you're like, enough. This is how Design HQ came around with the gun shop. It's like, you guys are not taking care of me on my apparel. And I have customers who we do a good job for. We have a cool looking logo, I think. And a lot of people do. We sell a ridiculous amount of apparel. I mean, you see it all over town when you're out. It's all over. And so I've got these guys really goofing up my brand. And it's like, okay, I just can't have that. So I'm like, I do some, I go to YouTube University.
Are we talking about Black Diamond Armory?
We're talking about Black Diamond Armory, our shirts, that is. And so I get on YouTube University, right? I'm watching YouTube videos and I'm learning about this. I talked to a couple of friends of mine that do shirts, that do screen printing. And they're like, don't, because I'm like, okay, I want to buy a screen print setup. And so it's a 1 head. Well, 1 head, how about a 2 head? Well, how about a 5 head? Well, now I need space. And I mean, and making screens and a dark room. And these guys that are doing it, they're like, Jerry, stop.
Yeah.
Don't do this. Buy transfers. These companies are out there. They literally use inkjet type printers. They're laying out, it's plastisol. It's the exact same material that we use in screen printing. And they literally print it. You order it. You can hold on to them for years if you take care of it in a nice dry environment. And he says, you heat press.
Yeah.
You can buy a cheap heat press for $200. You can buy excellent ones for $4 or $5 grand. But he said anywhere in between, you can make it work. Excuse me. So I buy some transfers and I buy some hoodies and I try it out and I'm like, this isn't that tough.
Right.
But I don't have time to be doing all these hoodies. And so that also, it's like, well, if I had an employee, so I'm gonna sacrifice a little sleep and a little free time, a little recliner time at night, and I'm gonna do my own hoodies. But Black Diamond Armory, we're gonna start this new company, Design HQ, and we don't have any customers except Black Diamond Armory.
Right.
So you start your company knowing that you have a company that is going to utilize it. It's going to be your, and so we started Design HQ to service Black Diamond Armory.
Okay.
Knowing that we're going to perfect our craft on my other company. And I figured even the mistakes we make, they're not going to be any worse than other ones. And I'm paying a fraction of the money because now I'm buying the hoodies at wholesale. I'm buying the transfers at wholesale. There's no labor. I mean, there's labor involved, but there's no paid labor. It's just me. And it's from one company to another. So again, are we paying for it? Yeah, kind of, but not, not 100%. We're getting a deal.
Yeah.
And then of course now the key is once you start doing it well and you figure out those pitfalls and you get all those mistakes that you've had made on you from someone else figured out, now we start going, Daniel, do you want some hoodies for the Tint and Detail Clinic?
Yeah.
And now, Black Diamond Armory maybe spends $2,000 a month with Design HQ, and Daniel comes in and I sell him Tint and Detail Clinic, and I can sell you a couple $100 a month, or $50 a month or a week or something like that. And then you're telling somebody, and all of a sudden your buddy is coming over and we're doing some for him, and next thing you know, we're trying to find time to do Black Diamond Armory. As a matter of fact, we're talking about putting a press and getting all of our transfers in the gun shop in the back corner. We're trying to make room for that so they can do their own, because Design HQ, we're just too busy.
Yeah.
So I can't even service my own store very well right now because we're so busy.
Yeah.
But we need a new building, we need more employees, so on.
Yeah.
But that's how that all started. It all started with one customer, me.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to stay that way, because that means I have to keep doing all these things. But now it turns into, we've built it up, we've grown it enough that we have clients. I mean, we sent shirts to South Africa last month.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, but the internet, it's crazy the connections you can get online. Like you said, your social media.
Yeah.
And it's amazing,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I guess the thing that did it for me, once I realized that having, just another business to supplement the business I already have, I think the thing that did it for me actually is, the laser engraving.
The laser engraving.
And I even came to you because I wanted to get, tumblers and keychains and things like that. And when I started looking into it, I realized laser engraving is the way that they do it for most of those things, for giveaways. And I said, well, shoot, I'm pretty resourceful. I can probably find these cups and I can, source them, and you can easily find them for $4 or $5 a piece.
Right.
And if you buy them in bulk, of course.
Right. Yeah.
You can find keychains in bulk, blanks, and the laser engravers are not that expensive to get into for doing simple things like this.
Yep.
So I said, you know what? There's no reason for me not to be able to do this on my own.
Yep.
And there we are.
Yep.
My hope is that my kids get into it a little bit more, and they utilize all the software that I've spent money on.
Well,
to do that.
And not to advocate child labor.
Well, if they're your own kids, it's fine.
Right, but the tax benefits of hiring your own kids when they're underage is awesome. And you're teaching them something, hopefully getting them interested in your business. I mean, when you look at where I'm at, I have all these businesses. Between Heather and I, we have 5 kids.
Yeah.
I have one that's interested.
Yeah.
That's it. So, I mean, all these businesses are just going to be sold at some point. The gun shop, that I'm pretty confident Michael's gonna take that over. I mean, he's really into it. He's better at it than I was, and I felt like I did a pretty good job in there.
Yeah.
But this kid's sharp. He's so good, but I have 4 kids that just no real interest in.
Sure.
I thought, really, it's hard as a dad.
Yeah, you just never know. And I don't push my kids
No.
one way or the other.
No, me neither.
I just, whatever they're interested in,
Yep.
okay, let's go. I
Yep.
mentioned basketball for my oldest because I know he's good at it, but
Yep.
he just has no interest in it. Okay, it's
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
We'll go do something else.
Yep.
But my hope is that one of my kids will get into more of this, computer side of things like software,
Right.
coding, programming, something like that. We were talking about Filmora
Yes.
here earlier. So, I learned to do it myself, and then I taught my oldest how to do it himself, and he actually has a few YouTube videos out there where
Does he?
he did all the editing on his own in Filmora.
So you're telling me that I should hire Jamie to do my opening?
I mean, he could learn it. He could learn it. Yeah.
I would love that. That
Yeah.
would be.
You know what? As a
cool.
matter of fact, I'll have him do it first.
Okay.
I'll tell him what he wants, and then I'll let you know if he did it or not.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Because we give him a shout out on every episode for
Yeah.
the beginning of that. That would be so awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yep. Yep. Well, my 35 to 45 minute podcast here once again. We're at an hour 5, and we started it late. So
Geez, yeah.
I'm going to call her quits. Anything you want to tell the listeners before we go?
Oh no, I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about.
We will.
Yeah.
Again, Daniel will be a regular here between that side of the camera or this side or the table, one or the other. But Daniel, I really appreciate coming out tonight.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and making time. It's always time away from the family, but you got to make a little time for the things you want to get done, and I really appreciate you taking some interest in this.
Yeah, I went from the shop home to freshen up a little bit quick, and then came right here. No dinner yet.
I had microwaved pizza from last night to grab a snack before I came down and set up the room. So
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, Daniel, welcome to the team, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Sounds good.